Oh, and we're live. Hi, everyone. Happy Monday and good afternoon here at Wicked Connected. We are excited. We're going to be welcoming our guest, Sheikha Al-Otaibi from Interlix Staffing. She is the co-founder and head of sales. So I'm really excited to interview her, talk a little bit about her journey from a networking perspective. I don't want to spoil anything, but welcome, Sheikha. How are you today?
I'm so excited to be here today. Had been looking forward to it since we connected and just networked through LinkedIn. So truly a pleasure to be here and to meet everybody.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on as well. Obviously, Wicked Connected all about networking. So we wanted to start off by just asking you, what cool event have you been to in the last couple of weeks that you wanted to highlight?
So an event that I went to a few weeks ago in October was the Dow event. It's every other month in the Boston area. It's right in Back Bay, and I love going to this event because I meet so many people in the Web3 space, a lot of people on the tech side of the business, founders, or are in corporate but want to explore blockchain and crypto. And with this event, I try to go as many times as they offer it because this was the first event I got my biggest client at 2.5 years ago. So it holds a special place in my heart. I really love going because, again, like the network there is great. And then also the person that hosts it now, since AI has been booming so much, now will host an event once a month because that is definitely like people are so eager to be in a room networking on that space. So that's once a month. And then the blockchain Web3 is every other month. So I haven't been able to make it out to the AI yet because I just found out about it when I was there. And I was like, oh, do you remember me? She did. So it was so nice. So gonna stay up to date on that and try to go to that event as well. But that was a great event, met a lot of people, and I definitely recommend them.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's Dow. Sorry, that's Dow.
Yes, Stephen, I'll have to send you the link of like how to get it. So I'm signed up for the text messages, but you can also find them. It will say the Boston Dow, and in April they host a huge conference as well. I think at Boss BU or just like different colleges, but I'll definitely have to send you that so you're subscribed to the text messages when they have the events.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I won't ask you for any Bitcoin predictions or anything like that, but I have my own, but
I know it's a hot topic. It's definitely a hot topic.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I think Bitcoin last week hit an all-time high. So
yeah, no, definitely. My advisor of my company is the second biggest miner in Bitcoin. So he was so happy about it. Yeah. So he that's how I have connections to the space already. And he introduced the event to me. But yeah, that's like my knowledge of it. And of course I went to Babson and like it was booming here as well.
Yeah.
I know MicroStrategies just bought another 50,000 today or 51,000 Bitcoin. So
crazy.
Just keep buying.
Wow.
You'll make money eventually. And this is not a financial podcast. I'm putting that out there. So do not listen to this and get
Amelia's going to do the legal disclaimer here.
Do not listen to me for crypto advice, please.
However, for some reason you make certain actions and you do very well. Remember all of us.
Yeah.
Financial advice.
I'll tell you my crypto story offline. I don't want to go too deep into that. But Sheikha, I'm glad you brought up your first client ever as well, or biggest client, because I know that you have a really fun story between networking and the start of your business. So I'd love for you to tell that story.
Yeah. So my co-founder, Sebastian, is a part of the business, CEO, and definitely the driving force of Interlix. And he's originally from Ecuador, but moved to New York City when he was in his adolescent years, around 8 years old, and grew up an immigrant in the United States, but still had many ties and families to Ecuador. Of course, he was born there, raised there for part of his life. He went to Babson College, which Babson's a huge entrepreneurial school, so knew he wanted to start something, but didn't know what. So Babson's all about networking. So he was inspired to go to a few events, one being at Venture Cafe, actually. And there he was just networking to see what ideas he could come across, or if he would join someone's team, just wanting to get into a space but didn't know what and where. And then he met a CTO that needed a front-end developer, and his cousin in Ecuador was a very good front-end developer. And he was like, wait, could this work? But just thinking, I'm just making a genuine connection between these two, my cousin and the CTO. I'm going to throw it out there. And it ended up being successful. And the CTO was like, do you have any more connections or people that you know, or does he know? So that's where the light bulb went off in his head. And our school also talked a lot about outsourcing and the benefits of that. So we saw there was a gap when it comes to quality in the market, and that's where Interlix staffing was born. So it was very like genuine, but it was like connecting first family, honestly, which for him is such a big moment because it was providing good opportunity to his family in Ecuador.
Absolutely. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about Interlink staffing as well? Just naturally get right into it.
Yeah, of course. So we're a staffing and recruitment firm, and we vet and recruit highly talented remote professionals and software developers based out of Latin America who have prior experience at great companies, especially multinationals, or working at startups. Like, they're seasoned professionals, and we have our recruitment team based out of Latin America, extensive experience there. And that's what we've been putting in front of our clients, quality at the end of the day, because we saw, again, there was a gap in the market there. And with that comes saving on costs. If they were hiring a head accountant who has prior experience at PwC, but they're based in Argentina, is amazing for companies in the US at $16 an hour. Because if they're trying to save on cost on that end, that's where we come in. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Wow. So can you tell us a little bit, how has your own networking played into building this business and growing it?
Yeah, it's been honestly crucial. I say like my cold calling and LinkedIn outreach, but my biggest is networking events. And that's why after talking with Amelia and many other people, they were like, at least 2 networking events a week. I was like, why am I not doing this? Because something that you told me, Amelia, on our call was like referrals, because you don't have to do the cold calling anymore if your network is so good. Steven was so nice to, like, I had a call with Steven and he connected me with 3 people on the spot, just like that. I was like, wow. And they all responded ready to talk.
Exactly.
To me. I want to be that person where I have such a network to be able to refer people that I meet, and also for my own sales approach. But Interlix and networking it's been super vital, I would say, for the success of the business. And also my co-founders in New York City, and I'm back and forth between New York, and we always try to go to events there as well. And also an app that we use, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but it's called Luma. And that's what we've been using in New York City. And it's like now a lot more events are going on there in the Boston area as well. And it's kind of better than Eventbrite because it already, like, you're kind of vetted out in a sense, like, oh, this is your LinkedIn, you're working on something. It's like, okay, you're a bit more serious when you show up to the event.
Yeah.
So I think I went on a tangent, but yeah.
No, you did. Last time we talked, you told me about Luma, and I actually downloaded it, and I think tomorrow, one of the events I'm going to, I got from Luma. So it's been awesome. So thank you for that suggestion.
I just looked it up, and I'm absolutely downloading this. I learn things every time.
Yeah, it's up and coming. I don't know in New York is how I came about it, but then when I was back here, I moved back in August. It was still not too many events, and now I'm seeing a lot more events be added onto there. So I think people are starting to like realize more and more. So let's grow it, guys.
Yeah.
Well, now that's dangerous. Adding one more.
Steven doesn't need any more networking events in a week. Yeah.
We've never
we
seen
need to add an extra day in the week, actually.
He would just fill that up.
It sounds like it's a very strategic tool, though, and it sounds like you, with your networking experience, have been very strategic on what you're going to and the growth of your company as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I learned that not the hard way. I think every event I go to, I try to look at it like, that was great. At least someone knows what I do, even if it's not my ideal client profile or customer. And that's what I want to take away from it. But definitely being more strategic of like, okay, is this going to be the decision makers in the room? Would these people be interested in what I'm offering? So that's what I try to definitely look that approach now after I've been going to so many events. on that end. And it's not even about like, and sometimes we're like, oh, we have to pay for it. Okay, no problem. Maybe that event is more enticing to go to. You're going to get less people, but people that are serious. So looking for those indicators is super important to me.
Absolutely.
What is it that if you were, when you're picking an event, what are the, like there are like a top 3 things that you look for?
So first, I would say industry is super important. I love going to tech events because, again, like we could be super helpful in that area. Mm-hmm. So definitely in that space. And then also, I would say is this a free event where anybody could attend? Or, is there some sort of profile I have to submit? Am I going to be pre-approved? So those aspects I look for. And then again, I think if it fits with my schedule. So I like going to events on Thursdays, Fridays. I think those are really great for me just because it works out. So I would say those aspects of it.
Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me more about Friday networking events? Because that's actually a day I have like sworn off of networking because it's like, that is my time. But if there is something to learn, then I want to know about it.
Yeah. So for me, it's been, I think in New York, a little more viable. In Boston, I've done like for a Friday networking event. I remember last year I went to like a coffee shop. It was like such a small networking event. I'm sure you guys have been. I didn't know what to expect. So that was one that I didn't know the type of people that were going, but it was 8 of us sitting at a coffee table. And I actually made more in-depth connections there than a room that was like, super fancy. There's hors d'oeuvres. Everybody's like mingling drinks. This was like small local feeling. But I was meeting a guy that traveled from Washington, D.C. He was head of this department. He actually needed an administrative assistant, and he needed also someone in person in the Boston area. So I was making another connection there. So I was like, all at the end of the day, like that's where I'm saying no networking event is a fail to go to.
Yeah,
it's true.
No, it's funny. We actually have one of our wines, which is called the JCB number 12. And it's called the number 12 because 12 is considered the perfect number for a dinner table. Or if you're going to have like a dinner table event, that sort of thing, where you can actually meet and have good conversations with everybody there, but it's not too overwhelming. Yeah. And I agree with that. And whether it's 8, 10, 12, you get kind of above that. And it is more challenging to make meaningful conversations or connections with as many people. So
yeah.
And I like the smaller ones.
I also think some of it is like how many people there are for the space that's allotted. Like Amelia and I went to Venture Cafe on Thursday, and it's like there were so many people crammed in.
I think it was just a special night. Like it was shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, that's how it's every time I've gone. It's honestly like that. And especially when the weather is nice too, because people love being outside on the top area. Plus, I think the drinks, people love that aspect as well. So I definitely have been in Venture Cafe where it's like that. Definitely.
I don't know. There's probably like a people per square foot rule or something that we could figure out.
One way to network is being like, very close to people.
I ended up meeting a bunch of people, but it was just like there's something about like at some point it's like so loud and hard to hear and whatever that it's hard to like, I don't know. I find it a little bit hard to get past.
I agree. I think I love the idea, like Sheikha talking about the small events, because I used to host those at my previous company and I will be hosting them moving forward kind of as I get settled here at Supporting Strategies. But the conversations that you get with even, say 4 to 12 people sitting at a table, you come away and like you're legitimately friends with these people. I think one of my best events I had was, I guess, second to the one that I had with Stephen. I have to put this in a little asterisk there because the one that I had with Stephen with wine blending was out of this world. But I had one, I was so stressed out because like 4 people canceled the day of. So I only had 3 people coming. So there's 4 of us. And I was like, oh my God, like this is going to be a total failure. Everyone's going to like, look at me like I can't put an event together, even though like I had all these people. I laughed for the entire dinner. And I got a referral out of it. I got a potential opportunity out of it. And everybody who came really had a valuable connection because we were able to. And it's such a contrast between, when you do enter a networking event and you're kind of like a sardine in there. It's like when I'm done this conversation, like, where do I turn? Because I can literally just turn my back to you and be like, hi, how are you? And it's a little bit harder to kind of interject into those conversations and say, hi, how are you? Like, my name's Amelia.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I also had the same thing happen to me in New York City and met one of my mentors there. It was like an event. It was very random in a local like law office. We were all sitting around the table. The assistant was bringing in a cheese platter. She just like peeled open. It was very like almost impromptu event. And me and my co-founder were like, oh, we don't know how this is going to go. And then we met someone that invited us to their office launch party, became one of our closest mentors. So that's what I say. And that's what I love about networking, because again, I think the smaller groups are always the ones that either you have more fun with or you maintain those connections over a long period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm curious. I love that you mentioned got to an event, feeling it out, might leave. I don't know, because I'm sure we've all been to a handful of those. What made you decide that you both want to stay? And then how did you go about having that conversation to relationship now with your mentor? Because I think that's a great, thing to get out of networking.
Yeah, of course. So actually, I think it was the way the event was set up. So we were all around an oval table because it was like a conference room for like in a law office. So imagine that. But it was like, okay, all of these like 10 people that don't know each other. And then we happen to be like sitting next to him or maybe like across from him. And we were sitting here. We were a little like, okay, we're just going to do our time. Like, we don't know what we're going to get out of this. And then he ended up giving us his number. The next day was his launch party. We went there. And then the next day we went, can we set up a coffee chat with you? He set it up. Like this guy, if you met him, he's a networking, like he's just amazing at networking. He's in, because he just moved from Pakistan to New York City, and then also came to the Boston area. We invited him here. He had never been before, but really good at making relationships, and something that I like and I want to be as I continue to grow and get more seasoned in my career. No matter how busy I am, I want to make time for people, even if it doesn't matter the status or the level that they're at, because you can always learn something. And like where we're also young entrepreneurs. He just opened up his office in IT, like offshoring, and he could have been like, no, I don't have time for this, or like been a big shot and been like, okay, these people are too small for me. But he didn't only take the time with us, he took the time with every person that was interested in speaking with him. And that's what I admire. And that's also because of that, he came to Boston, and then he's going to meet more people through us, and we're going to put something in mind for him. So that's, again, like networking at its core, which is the best thing. But also I want to be that as I continue to grow in my career.
Absolutely. You hit on some really great things.
Thank you.
Just being like totally open. I think going to networking with an open mind is so important, but also being genuine and genuinely wanting to make a connection and not thinking that you're better than anyone else, because truly, like, you never know who you're going to meet. And why not just have the conversation?
Yeah.
You never know where it's going to go.
It's so interesting that you say that, Amelia, because yes, I won't say who and I won't give you any more details, but I was on a call yesterday and I was just like, Friday, and I was like, what is going on here? I mean, it was like a 5th degree, networking thing. Like somebody I networked with that networked with, and I finally got on this call with this person, and it was like, I was not selling anything, but I sort of felt by the end like this person was like, well, I don't need what you're selling. And I'm like, we're just having a conversation here. I'm not selling to you. And so I think it's that openness, that willingness to be like, hey, I don't know where this is going to go. We may not do business. It doesn't matter. We're just learning about each other's businesses, etc. So, Sheikha, I have a question for you, because this is an interesting question that we've been talking about a lot, because this is a podcast about networking in Boston. And so the question that we often ask people is, do you think that networking in Boston is different than networking elsewhere? And since you network in both New York and Boston, I thought this might be an interesting
you have a unique perspective on this.
Yeah. So I think that in New York, people like to party. In Boston, I feel like they're a little more, I feel like I always say this, like sometimes I like go back and forth that I like Boston more, but then like I feel like New York is just like there's just more more, I guess, like events to go to.
Totally.
But because sometimes in New York, like, oh, I'm going, it's at a rooftop. The event is hosted at a rooftop. And then it's like, oh, tech and like founders event, like go. And we're like, okay, this should be good. But then there's also just like people that are not maybe too serious about entrepreneurship or not even in that, but just wanted to go because it was a rooftop and there was like a free drink included. So I noticed that, and maybe just because New York has those spots in that scene, there's a lot more people. But in Boston, I feel like, I hate to say it, the people feel a little more serious, but not to say that I don't love New York as well. And I realized that also, being more choosy with the events I go to in New York and a little more selective there. But I do go back and forth on this all the time with my founder. I'm like, what do I like better? Because I've been skunked before with New York. So
that is interesting.
So it's interesting. I don't know, Stephen, I haven't done as much in both, maybe Amelia and Taylor, but do you agree with that, or have you experienced that as well?
I definitely have.
Yeah.
So do you agree?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends too, like on industry and all of that. I agree with you in the sense of like New York just like has a little bit more. I mean, it's obviously bigger, there's more people. But yeah, I think with Boston, I really enjoy there's those larger events that I think I get what you mean by a little bit more serious, right? It's like more business, obviously oriented. But I think when there is like a special tone about it, like the one that you're going to tonight, which I can't wait for you to talk about. I think like maybe that might have a, more of a fun aspect to it. Or what we would all be talking about is the smaller ones. Like I go to a lot of small networking dinners and those are awesome. Like there is so much, quote unquote work being done, if you will, but more fun than anything.
No, definitely. I agree.
Yeah, it's an interesting one on the reflection there, because I can see that point. I haven't been to as many in New York, although I have been to a handful, and there's been some interesting ones there.
You'll just leave it at that, Stephen. Just interesting.
We'll leave it at that.
Here's a question. Just also, I think Sheikha has an interesting take because you actively go to events in both cities. But for Stephen, I know that you kind of, when you go to events outside the city or in a different city, generally it's because you're there for a day. And I'm curious if people have different networking experiences in different cities. Also, like if I were to go to Philly to go to a networking event, I'd probably just go on Eventbrite or Luma now and try to find an event, and you're just kind of shooting your shot in the dark, versus as you start to get more into networking, like you find that you aren't really looking for events as much, but more so people are inviting you to events because they know what will fit you better. And I'm curious, has your networking changed at all as you've grown in that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where I would say, again, to the point of like, I'm a little more choosy of the events I will go to, and not just like a shot in the dark, because you see more success over it. So definitely that. And I would say that. And also, but still having that mindset of when I first started networking to be optimistic about it. Because always when people first go, it's like so exciting. I've even brought friends who are looking for corporate jobs and they necessarily don't have to network. They already have a job. And I'm like, no, it's still good to meet people. You never know where the opportunity could go. But of course, they're like, this is their first time. This is amazing. They love it. And I think sometimes when you do it for a while, that specialness wears off. But it's always good to go with that optimistic, like first timer mindset, because then you won't leave after. You won't be like, oh, I've seen it before. I've done it before. Like still staying optimistic is what I'm continuing to do.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I do too. And I think the number of times that I've heard from people who end up, whatever, unexpectedly being terminated or having all these other circumstances, right? And it's just, man, I just wish that I had done a little bit. Like, they're not like, I want to do the craziness that I do or, others on this podcast do, but I wish I did like one a week, or I wish I was a little bit more intentional about how do I build up networks. And ultimately, as I said, it's just cool that you're able to also help other people by the same token, right? Not just for you, but how can you actually help others as you go through it? So I think that's definitely one of the key points. I know, Amelia, I think that, yes, there definitely is the ham in this town. And yes, I'll check out Luma as well. but also for mine, like, of course I do more things that are like adjacent to what I do. And so I will likely be going to like a bridal expo at some point, right? Because as you think about weddings, wedding planners, event planners, those are like perfect type connections for me doing what I do.
I can't wait for the pictures.
So it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure.
I love that.
Sheikha, what advice do you have for people just starting out networking?
I would say that everybody in the room doesn't know anybody. So go introduce yourself. That's what I would say. It's like sometimes people get so worried, like, what are they going to think of me? I'm like, everybody's in their own world. We're all strangers. So just go up, introduce yourself, be bold. And like, if you say something and you mess up and you say it, or you didn't feel like that was your best introduction, you're going to meet another person and do it again. So it's just practice and reps, and then it will become like meeting friends.
Yeah,
totally.
I think we've said it in the past, there's like 8 billion other people besides that person.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was thinking about this recently, where like the best part of networking advice ever I got was not even from a networker. It was actually like in a totally different lifetime. I was working at a horse show, and the woman I was working for was like, it's not that hard to be nice. Just smile and say hi.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so simple, but it's like, that's really, if you just walk into an event and smile and say hi, you'll make a friend.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I would just take it one step further, say be interested, right? That's the other part, is like going through, and other than that, you just let it go from there.
True. Very true.
Well, we're like flying through a half an hour here.
I love it.
It's like amazing always how fast it goes by. But we always like to end and see what events people have coming up. So sort of the lightning round. Maybe Sheikha, we start with you. I know you have one. So what's something you're planning to do?
So tonight I'm actually going to a women's founder event at Harvard, and I'm going to be pitching my business and networking, and already connected with like a co-networking buddy tonight. And then on Thursday I have Tech and AI or Women Tech AI event on Thursday night. So super excited about that.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Who wants to go next?
Right.
Jeff, you go. I have to think about
I'll go next. So interestingly, I've been a marketer for like 20 something years, and for some reason had never joined the American Marketing Association. And so I joined the American Marketing Association in Boston, and they have an event tomorrow night in Framingham. So very excited to go there and meet some other marketers and start to make some connections in the marketing world. So that's my plan. I'll pass it over maybe to Taylor. Do you have?
Yeah. Keep me posted on that. I definitely want to hear about the women's entrepreneurship. I think that sounds lovely. I have a crew event, Women in Commercial Real Estate. And then actually this week, prior to the craziness of the holidays, I have a lot of lunches and dinners from networking events. So I really love the aspect of obviously making great connections when going out to these fun events. But the icing on the cake is obviously building really great relationships from those and then doing these. So I always try before Thanksgiving and the beginning of December to try to get some holiday festivities on the books with smaller groups.
Cool. Yeah. And weren't you one of the presenters last week, Taylor?
I was.
How'd that go?
I was. It went well. Yeah. It's different rather than being, on a committee or a participant than speaking, but it was really cool. It was nice. Thanks for asking. Thank you.
All right.
What about you? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I agree with the one-on-ones or the small groups. So I'm doing one of those tonight in Hingham. I'm actually at a restaurant that I've wanted to go to for a while. And I guess now that
Restaurant?
Sorry?
What's the restaurant?
Alma Nove.
Ooh, very nice.
So it's one of the Wahlburger restaurants. So apparently, or Wahlburger.
Oh, nice.
So apparently it's very, very good. I'm looking forward to it. But then tomorrow is the Private Directors Association, and that's going to be really a discussion on things, basically the state of banking in the U.S. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's always kind of interesting to me is how things are going there. I'm sure there will be a discussion there just as far as, to date, looking at some of the First Republic things, et cetera, but then also what does the forward look like. And then I'm not going to be able to go to this, but there is a Latinos in Bio Gala, which I think is on Thursday night. And so that is really interesting. Really, I know a handful of people from that group, really good group. So to the extent that anybody is interested, I would highly recommend it. I'm actually doing a wine pairing session, so I can't be two places at once. That should be a great one. I guess the other shout out is for Wednesday night. Markham has their cocktails and conversation events. And so that I guess it's now CBiz. But that is on Wednesday in Boston. So
I actually just signed up for that, Stephen. You don't need to nominate me. I know I'm the last one to go here.
Well, actually, wait, before you go, I will say, so coming back to a little networking and things coming out of things, it's funny because it was not really a networking per se, but it was a group of friends and family got together, I don't know, several months ago. I did a impromptu wine blending, right? Because everybody carries extra glassware and 4 bottles of blending wines on the road with them.
Of course.
But it actually worked out very well because one of the individuals there, who's the girlfriend of my cousin, apparently there's this whole lawyer event planner type email thing set up. And she had reached out and said, hey, if anybody ever wants an event, reach out to Steve. He does all these things. And so out of the blue, I had one of the local law firms, which is the local person from a national law firm. They reached out and had me do an event for 45 of their attorneys in Langham in Boston. And so I was the song of the evening. It was a lot of fun. In addition, of course, all kinds of fun networking that came out of that too, right? Unintentional, but just a really, really fun event. So networking definitely works. And now I am expecting to be one of the people who's being referred and that sort of thing on there as well. So that's very cool.
That's very nice. Congrats.
Thank you.
So can I go now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Actually, wait, one more. No, kidding.
So I'm very busy. I think like the week before Thanksgiving is just an insane week for networking. So I have 2 events Tuesday and Wednesday, one on Thursday and one on Friday, but it ends at 4 on Friday. So I get to still have my Friday afternoons. But tomorrow I'm really exciting. So there's a founder who's also an artist. So I am going to her gallery opening. So she's hosting a networking event. A friend of mine had reached out to me, was like, hey, would you mind resharing this event? I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'll reshare it. So I'm really excited to go there. I'm also going to be attending pitch night at Venture Lane. So, listen to all these different founders talk about their incredible ideas. It's no secret that I love startups and I love their founders because it's just listening to people's passion, which is just really exciting and heartwarming. Then I will be at Cocktails and Conversations. I just got sent that event this morning and registered, so I'll see you there. Wednesday or Thursday is Third Thursday, which is co-hosted by Supporting Strategies, so I'll be there representing. And lastly, Pillar VC is hosting an event that my manager got invited to, so I'll be there representing Supporting Strategies as well. So it is a biz. I looked at my calendar last week and was like, all right, game on. I will. And then also, actually, on Saturday, I'm going to my first Daughters of the Revolution meeting, which I'm really excited about. I finally got approved. I just have to go in and actually sign my application. And then I'll be officially in the Lexington chapter. So I'm really excited to kind of see what that's all about.
That's very cool.
And did we hear the story already too? If we can make it short, of course, but how you both met, the connection?
Well, from Stephen.
Oh,
yeah, actually asked Stephen to tell the story, or Sheikha can tell it.
I met Stephen at a great networking event, Blueprint networking event, which I've known them since last October. Got the invite, and it was a great networking event. 10 out of 10 for me.
Yep.
Look at that. That's great.
Awesome. And here we are having this conversation. So it was so great to meet you, Sheikha. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And being on. And
yes. Thank you all so much. I'm definitely going to be posting about this on my LinkedIn. I would love to connect with all of you guys. So,
and where can people find you on LinkedIn?
Oh, right.
We forgot to ask that. Or
my name, is just Sheikha Al-Otaibi, and you'll see me pop up with Interlix. So I'm pretty active on there as well. But I'll look for all of you guys as well. I know Stephen and Amelia were connected, but just Taylor, and I'll just write that down in my notes now.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Perfect. But yeah, you could see what I'm doing there. I also post a lot of content, videos, and things like that, so you could see a little bit more. But thank you guys all so much, and Amelia, for making this happen. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. We're so excited to have you on, and I'm sure we might have you on again in the future as well. Get some updates.
Yeah, I hope so.
And one of these days, we're going to have a Wicked Connected live event, and we'll have to.
Yes,
well, so.
It's in the works, and we're going to start our own little networking.
Yes.
Cohort. We'll see how we have to all get together. We have to have dinner and actually plan it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and until
thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you.